we're still working out kinks in our schedules right now. I wanted to talk about this with James at first, but regarding SEC news, I figured who else but my very good friend Stephen Copper to come on the show. Hang on, I got some. There went away. So it was announced today that Texas and Oklahoma have notified the Big 12 that it will not continue its. Is it grant of rights? Was that the verbiage?
Yeah, the grant of media rights, right?
Something like that. Yeah, and they say we're going to honor the commitment until 2025. Legally, they have to say that. They're not sticking around that long. And the belief is that they are heading to your conference, the SEC. So I'm curious. You said you had good and bad feelings. Well, I don't know about good and bad feelings, but you had mixed feelings, I think, about this news.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. Obviously good for the conference. It's two gigantic college, in just a college football sense, two gigantic college football brands. I mean, Texas is arguably, and maybe not all that difficult to argue, they're the biggest brand in college football. They may stink, and but
Oklahoma's not far behind.
At the end of the day, they're one of the, if not the biggest brand in college football. Everybody knows who Texas is.
Yeah.
Everybody can watch Texas at any time they want.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, Oklahoma's not very far behind because of what Lincoln Riley has been able to follow up what Bob Stoops did in creating that powerhouse in the Big Ten and the Big 12.
Might as well be the Big Ten, yeah.
Yeah, might as well. It's about to be the Big 8 again.
For now, those other schools are look. This pertains to me. My school is in the Big 12. I have never been under the assumption that we're going to be in there. That we were going to be in there long. We jumped on it because we were in a sinking ship in the Big East.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a no-brainer.
It really was. It at the time when the last huge bout of conference realignment happened, West Virginia had to make the move that they made because, like you said, the Big East was a sinking ship. Yeah. I mean, it was.
And now it's happening again, and I hope one of these conferences can pass us a lifeline. I'm cautiously optimistic, actually. Most WVU fans probably aren't, but I am.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll kind of get into this and talk about what we think is next for college athletics.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Yeah, I think West Virginia is a big enough brand where it's not going to fall to an American Athletic Conference or something like that. I think they'll get picked up by somebody big. It just depends on how things fall out and how what takes shape from the dismantling of the Big 12.
So let's go back to the SEC. This is obviously probably has not been discussed yet. Theories, though, how the SEC itself is going to align. I think, it's a simple solution right off the bat. The easy solution is Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri become the West or join the West, along with LSU, Arkansas, and the Mississippi schools. Push Alabama and Auburn to the West, the East.
Yeah.
That's easy, but we'll get into more scenarios later that I want to talk about.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to do it, to not change basically the entire scheduling and conference alignment structure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all screwed up anyway because Missouri is in the East.
And it doesn't hurt Alabama and Auburn that much. They'll still get the Iron Bowl every single year. And Alabama gets its rivalry with Tennessee, and Auburn gets its rivalry with Georgia. Now, granted, you don't get to play LSU probably. You don't get to play Ole Miss.
It really takes away from the West.
Yeah.
Is Alabama and LSU every year, which for the past 20 years has been a huge game. Auburn and LSU has been a top 10 game more times than it hasn't been. And then, it takes away Alabama and Mississippi State are like 80 miles apart and hate each other. But
see, I didn't know that. I didn't know they were a pretty big rivalry. Just because Alabama's really good and Mississippi State kind of had some good years with Dan Mullen, but for the most part of our lives, Mississippi State has not been good.
No, yeah, but I mean, they're the closest of any two SEC schools.
Yeah.
In terms of geography. So I mean, it makes sense that they're a rivalry, but in terms of on the field, in most sports, I mean, Mississippi State just can't handle it. It can't keep up with Alabama. So I mean, yeah, you lose that. You lose Auburn and LSU, Alabama and LSU.
Then, the Alabamas and Mississippi schools, I think, had a little bit of a
but
friction.
Other than that, it's not much. I mean,
Arkansas is not really a rivalry with anyone except LSU. And even then, I think and A&M, I guess. But A&M's not a rival with really anyone else in the West. So it's not that big of a deal. Maybe you get on a rotation, so to speak, where if you go to that East-West rival, your protected rival every 3 years is LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, or something like that.
Yeah, they could very easily do something like that. If it's an 8-team division, you play 7 teams you play all 7 teams in your division, and then you still get that 1, maybe 2 cross divisional games. One would probably be protected because of, like you said, I mean, there's still some weird cross divisional rivalries like Florida and LSU. Is a really weird, like, big cross-divisional rivalry. So, I mean, like, that would probably stay protected. But other than that, like you said, you're not losing anything. You're gaining a massive rivalry. Not really 2 massive rivalries in Texas and Oklahoma, and then Texas and Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean, Red River, aside from the in-state schools, Red River is I would say number 3 rivalry in all of college athletics, period. But between non-in-state schools, it's 1 or 2 behind Ohio State or Michigan.
You look at, totally. I mean, it's kind of addition by subtraction almost. Like it's I mean, you're gaining. Yes, you're losing Alabama, LSU, and all these, but like I said, you're gaining a rivalry that has been bubbling since Texas A&M left, and Texas A&M and Texas. And then, and like you said, one of the top 3 cross, interstate rivalries in Texas and Oklahoma, and a really like traditional college football rivalry too. I mean,
that's a big game every single year. The Red River rivalry.
That's College Game Day every year is at that game. Everybody knows Texas State Fair, the Cotton Bowl, the whole thing. Kickoff at noon every year. I mean, it's so traditional in a sport that is so deeply rooted in tradition that, I mean, it's a great addition.
What sucks about this is I kind of pity Oklahoma. I do pity Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
your brother basically is going off with your stepbrother. Almost.
Yeah, you kind of feel bad.
Or you're more like your cousin. My cousin. I prefer him over to you, little brother.
I mean, you feel bad for the Mike Gundys and the Matt Campbells of the world, but I mean, if the SEC comes calling in college football, in college athletics, you answer the phone. I mean,
yeah. I remember seeing a tweet about how this had been in the works for about 5 or 6 months, and I was doing some research. I'm putting a blog together about this, and I'm getting really into it. Hope to publish it later this week, but it ain't a coincidence that they reach out to the SEC after the SEC announces its $3 billion TV deal with ESPN back in December.
Yeah, when
I was like, it's maybe $1 billion. I forget, and no, it's $3 billion. I mean, that's even divided among 16 teams. That's still, I think, over $100 million just from that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like you said, that's tough to say no to, and at the end of the day, college athletics is a business, and that's a good business decision to answer that phone call. So.
Yeah, so let's talk about how much of a fit Texas and Oklahoma are, because I'll be honest, I think Oklahoma is going to slide in like they've been there the entire time. They just fit the SEC. The SEC is full of these small town college atmosphere type of towns. Tuscaloosa, Auburn, Starkville, Oxford, Athens, Gainesville, Knoxville, another one. They're all pretty small. The biggest cities, Baton Rouge, Lexington, those are kind of outliers. And Norman, I'm not all that familiar with Norman. I know it can't be that big though.
No, yeah, I mean it's living up here. I kind of have learned about it a little bit. It's a suburb of Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. I mean, there can't be more than 70,000, 80,000 people in it. I mean, it's probably about the size of Gainesville or
let's see. I don't know. Suburb of Oklahoma City. It might be.
Well, I mean, it's
100,000.
Yeah, I mean, but I think you're right. I think in terms of fit, in terms of the university itself and the atmosphere around.
Okay, so we were about right. Estimate is 124,000 people.
Yeah, so I mean, not the biggest city in the SEC, not the smallest city in the SEC. I mean, like you said, I think it fits way better from a university standpoint, from a atmosphere standpoint, from a feel kind of standpoint than Austin does.
Yeah, Austin. I have, since moving to Texas, I haven't been to Austin yet. I mean, that's on my list. But everyone I talk to here says Austin might be a part of Texas, but it really isn't Texas. We've
got some friends that live in Austin now that moved from here to Austin.
And it's not a fit because the population of Austin is about 900,000, almost 1 million people. But the suburb, or the metro of Austin, is about 2.2 million. There's only one city in the SEC that almost equates, and that's Nashville.
Nashville, yeah.
Nashville, I think I wrote this in my blog. It's about, I think, 600,000 in the city itself, and then the metro is about 1.9 million.
Yeah, and Nashville is not a college town, and I don't think Austin is either. No. And they're there because Vandy is a founding member of the SEC, and they're not going anywhere. But I mean, I think you're right.
They're that kid on the team that keeps the grades up.
Yeah, exactly. They keep the grade and the average annual salary of graduates way up. But yeah, I mean, it makes more sense to me. Like you said, that Oklahoma is just going to slide right in. I feel like Texas is going to have some trouble. I really do. I think
I've heard a lot of people, and I 100% agree. Texas, I don't think realizes what it's getting in, what it's getting into.
No, I think you're right. I think
Oklahoma, like I said, culturally will slide in and fit like a glove. Texas, though, and I don't even mean from a competitive standpoint. I mean just in general, from a cultural standpoint.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, like we said, it makes sense from a ending and marketing standpoint.
You're adding a major market. I mean,
huge market. Yeah. You're gaining that Central Texas market that you didn't really get with Texas A&M. You got kind of that southeastern Texas, Houston, that area, kind of where you are. But with Austin, you're gaining that Central Texas market, getting up into DFW, and
not really. You're closer to San Antonio.
The huge TV market that is Central Texas.
Yeah.
And, all that makes sense.
Yeah.
Economically makes sense. Like you said, fit just doesn't. I saw a tweet today of some guy that lives in Chicago.
And I want to say this. I'm not sure there's a fan base out there that is, I don't want to say delusional, but does not understand. I don't think they're delusional. I don't think they understand the way the rest of the world views them. And that's Texas.
Yeah.
Texas still views itself like it's 2005.
The fan base fit is, I think, worse than the school fit in the SEC. I don't think Texas fan base fits at all in the SEC. I think Oklahoma slides right in. I think just like everything else, I think they're a perfect fit for the SEC. But Texas, they got too much money, man.
I'm telling you, they're gonna come in, and I've touched up on this. I hate to keep bringing it up, but I touched up on it in my blog with really both of these teams. I don't think it's going to be a huge problem with Oklahoma, but I think it will be with Texas. Texas and Oklahoma in the last the last decade, have been catered to by the Big 12. And I wouldn't be shocked if that was the conference saying, please don't leave us. Please don't ever leave us.
Yeah.
But and I mean that. They have been catered to on the field, off the field, and I remember thinking before I wrote it, I was like, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm just being petty, that my team isn't theirs, whatever. And then I saw the report that the Big 12 is willing to offer Texas and Oklahoma more revenue, more shares of the revenue to stay. And I was like, okay, hold on. Time out. Let's pretend that this works. And Texas and Oklahoma say, okay, fine, we'll stay for less money than what the SEC could offer us, and we'll keep the Big 12 intact. Do you not think the rest of the Big 12, they will be like, fuck that, we're bolting.
I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Where I'm not going to be a redheaded stepchild.
Yeah. So they've been catered to.
At a conference. I mean, the conference is treated
And Oklahoma, I think, has benefited from that, but I think they're enough where they'll be like, oh, that's, for instance, that's usually a call in our favor in the Big 12. Well, all right, let's move on. And Texas will be like, wait a minute, that's always supposed to go our way. This is a game that's supposed to go our way, and they're going to come in to the table and have these list of demands, I bet, from the SEC, and the SEC isn't going to cater to them.
They're going to come in and get beat by Arkansas and throw their hands up in the air and say, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, what the hell, SEC? SEC's going to be like, you signed up for this, man.
Yeah, dude, we're giving you a couple $100 million. You signed up for this. We're not giving you any special treatment.
So let's go back to the alignment of the SEC. We talked about the East and West, which makes sense, but I want to talk about, and I already got some pushback from William on this, even though I think it's a better option, and it's the pods.
Pods, yeah. The pods is what I'm seeing. It makes the most sense.
It not only, on paper, yes, you're breaking up some rivalry, so to speak, but you don't factor in protected rivalries, which is going to happen. You're going to have that. And I think you're going to have to go to a nine-game schedule, which is tough. But the one pod I've seen, and I think this is likely how it's going to shake out, is Florida. I've seen one with Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, and South Carolina. And then Florida, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama. And I was like, there's no way that's going to happen. That's too much. In one pod. Now I've seen, and I've said from the beginning, I think it's going to be Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Kentucky, Bama, Auburn, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, LSU, and then the Mississippi schools, Texas, A&M, Missouri, and Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's the one that I have seen that makes the most sense to me. The bad feelings I had about when we first started talking about this was that pod that showed Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia.
Yeah. No, that's too much for one pod. That's too much.
If you tell me that we get to leave the West.
Yeah.
Where you play Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M every year, and then depending on the year, Ole Miss, Mississippi State might be good, might not be good, and Arkansas, to go to a pod to play every single year, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, I'm out.
And then that's not even counting protected rivalries.
That's not even counting. Yeah, exactly. That's not even counting having to play a Texas A&M or an Oklahoma or South Carolina when they're good, or a Mississippi State or Ole Miss or an LSU.
You got to break it up. I mean, that works so well. You get Florida, Georgia in one, Alabama, Auburn, and then even Tennessee could probably compete one day. And then LSU, and then probably Ole Miss, and then Oklahoma, Texas, maybe A&M or Missouri. Just keep that big Big 12.
Feels like the most competitively balanced pod. I mean, if it's the first option, there's one pod that's going to dominate everybody.
Yeah.
And it's going to be whoever makes it out of that pod is going to win the SEC, and is probably going to win the national championship.
Yeah.
But this way, like you said, you get Florida and Georgia. You keep protected rivalries in every pod. You keep Florida and Georgia. You keep Alabama and Auburn. You keep Alabama and Tennessee. You keep the Egg Bowl. You keep Ole Miss and LSU, who hate each other. You keep Arkansas and LSU, who don't like each other. You keep Texas and Oklahoma. You keep Texas and Texas A&M. You get Missouri in there. It's kind of an old Big Eight get together. I mean, it makes the most sense. And so you play, and then you kind of work out the cross-pod stuff where,
I've gone through this. I'm dead serious. And I'll just pertain to Auburn because that's your team right now. The two that I have right now, so you're guaranteed to play these teams every single year. You're guaranteed to play Alabama, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. And even Tennessee and Auburn, I feel like, is a matchup that should be played more.
That's an underrated rivalry. There's been plenty of games back and forth where it was big. I mean,
And then I know neither of the, other than Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn don't have much connection with Vanderbilt, but it's just the way it falls. But for Auburn, you're guaranteed to play those three teams. Then one of your protected rivalries, who you will play every single year, is Georgia. And then the other, I have LSU.
Yeah.
And then Alabama's are Mississippi State and LSU.
Yeah, there's an easy way to take 5 games and make sure that those 5 games are played every year for every school.
Yeah. I have a table for it, and I even went through an Excel spreadsheet. And then I want to get into how I think the rest of the conference schedule should go if this is the direction it's going in. Is the remaining, what are we at? Let's pretend it goes to an 8-game or a 9-game schedule, which is, I think, the best chance for this to work.
Yeah.
Is the remaining 4 games are a rotation.
Mm-hmm.
The Eastern pod, Florida, Georgia, whoever else, Kentucky, South Carolina, then Arkansas, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and then the Big 12 pod, old Big 12 pod. Now, granted, some of those, like I gave Alabama, LSU, and Mississippi State, so when the rotation comes and you got to play that schedule, you do have 2 free games. So the SEC, that's not a big deal, though. The SEC will just pluck, because it's going to be like that with every team.
Yeah.
They're going to have openings every year, and the SEC's, okay, well, Oklahoma has an opening. Oh, Florida does too. Let's make that a matchup,
Yeah.
It's really not that hard, honestly.
No, I think there's a good way to do it so that, like you said, you protect rivalries even if they're split up, but then you also get teams that don't play each other a whole lot right now, or have never played each other, like you get like an Auburn and Missouri or an Auburn and Kentucky that don't play each other all that often. And there's an easy way.
Not only that, but the current structure, guarantees, so you got 8 conference games right now in the SEC, 1 protected rival. So that leaves, just 1 game that rotates every single year?
2. 1, 2.
It's 1. Right? 6. Yes, and then a 7th protected rival. So then 1 game that rotates every single year.
You're right.
That would mean every, 6 years?
6 years you play it.
And then every 12, you're guaranteed to play that team twice in each stadium.
Yeah.
With the pod, it would be, or the pod system, it would be every 3 years at the most. At the most. I'm telling you, I've gone through this. I've gone through this on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Every 3 years. I know it sucks, but that's the fairest compromise. Alabama, you've had some good matchups with Ole Miss in the last 10 years. They're not a rival, but hey, at the most, every 3 years you'll get to play them, and then every 6 years you play them in each of your home stadiums. Meanwhile, as compromise, you get Auburn, Tennessee, LSU, and Mississippi State guaranteed every year.
I don't see why that would be a problem. I think it obviously there's a lot of moving pieces, and TV is going to have a say, and all of these things are going to happen. But logistically, logically, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't see where really anybody would have a problem with that. Obviously, Texas A&M has a problem with the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, don't want Texas to come to the SEC. They have a problem with the whole thing.
Yeah.
I get that. They came to the SEC to get away from Texas.
Yeah.
And now we're just bringing them in 9 years later. I get their grievance.
I'd be careful about that. Texas is a cancer, honestly. I say that from experience.
I mean, I get their gripe. Like, it makes sense. But
how are they going to handle the Longhorn Network? Have you seen anything about that? Just figure it out later?
I haven't. I'm sure it'll get kind of enveloped into the SEC network, maybe.
Yeah, I would say something along the lines of, like, maybe you keep it and you keep a certain, not 100% of the percentage.
Yeah,
but maybe like 50, and then you divvy up the rest among the other 15 teams.
It's all under the ESPN, Disney umbrella anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, it's probably not going to be all that difficult for them to figure out what they want to do with it. So, I mean, whatever I don't care what they do with it. It doesn't bother me. Texas can have their own network, do whatever the hell they want.
So
Texas
then,
A&M have a problem with it, but
what's that?
A&M's going to have a problem with it, but I could care less.
Yeah, I don't think anyone cares. So let's ask the big question then. What happens to the Big 12?
Oh, I think the Big 12 completely dissolves.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't see it. Honestly, I don't see a scenario where this survives.
No, I think it can't. I mean, if as of right now, who are the flagship schools of the Big 12? Kansas and Oklahoma State?
Probably. I would argue West Virginia, but
argue West Virginia, argue Baylor.
But we're not Big 12, you know?
No. I think
we're the biggest brand left. Maybe Kansas, but
yeah, you could argue Kansas, Baylor with its with recency bias.
But I don't like saying us because, one, it makes me sound biased. Two, we're just not Big 12. When you think Big 12, you don't think West Virginia. You think Texas, Oklahoma State, and whoever else.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be an all-out bidding war, really. I mean, for what's left, for what schools, conferences want, which really, at this point, Kansas, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, maybe Texas Tech, maybe Baylor. I
think TCU's getting a bad rap.
TCU, I don't know how many schools are going to be knocking on I
think 6 of those 8 make a pretty good argument. There are 2 schools that I don't think do. One is Texas Tech. I just don't think it does much. And Lubbock's just not very attractive. Granted, neither is Morgantown, but you're getting something bigger, I think, in West Virginia than you are at Texas Tech. And 2, Kansas State. Kansas State really does not offer much, and I feel bad. One of these teams is probably going to be left out. Maybe 2.
I would bet, unfortunately, that they get swept up by whatever is left of like an American Athletic Conference or a Conference USA.
I think it would be American,
like maybe
Conference USA. That's a massive demotion.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't think any of those schools are deserving of that.
No, I don't. I don't necessarily think that either. But I mean, you look, Kansas is almost certainly going to head to the Big Ten.
I've seen some chatter that they're already talking about that.
Yeah, I would think that the Big Ten would welcome Kansas with open arms.
Yeah, the thing is though, it comes down to. I really do think it's coming down to brands at this point. You have got to keep up to match what the SEC just pulled off. So.
And if you think about this, not in a football sense,
and not that Kansas is a bad brand, obviously huge basketball. I think they're a perfect fit, honestly, for the Big Ten. Yeah. Big basketball following, and they're not going to suck forever in football. They're going to be decent at some point. I mean,
they're going to turn it around. I mean,
they just hired a guy I think was a really good hire, the dude from Buffalo.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean,
they've invested a ton in their facilities, so they're trying. They're
getting there. Yeah, I mean, and then you look at like the bad thing about Oklahoma State is with Oklahoma going to the SEC, they are kind of stuck in, well, I could go west, go to the Pac-12, but that doesn't geographically make sense.
Mm-mm.
I could go east to go to the ACC. That doesn't geographically really make sense much.
I'm telling you right now, as a fan of a team that has been on an island the last almost 10 years, you don't want it. You don't want to be an island.
Unfortunately, they're kind of stuck, and they're probably going to have to end up on an island going one direction or the other. I mean,
the Big Ten wouldn't be that bad.
It wouldn't be
compared to the rest of the Big Ten West.
But they don't. I don't think they fit in the Big Ten.
They're honestly, I think they're more of an SEC school.
Oh yeah, totally.
And if T. Boone Pickens, is that his name, the big booster from there? If he was still alive, maybe the SEC comes calling.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I disagree with you there.
Well, I'm just saying.
But I mean, yeah, they're really the one school that I feel worst for in this situation because, like you said, they are totally stuck out on an island. They're getting ditched by Big Brother. They fit in with the conference probably more than Big Brother does, but they're just not as big a brand. I mean, it's Oklahoma State really kind of got shafted here.
Yeah, I agree.
But somebody will pick them up. They will end up in a major conference. They won't be the best fit in the world in that major conference, but they will be in it.
So one of the proposals, I don't mean to interrupt you, one of the proposals I've seen is the Pac-12 absorb the remaining 8 teams in the Big 12 and be the Pac-20, I guess. And to which I'm like, no. I'm not going out even further west.
No, I don't think that's the way you do it.
I think we're bolting anyway.
If anything, I think that the Pac-12 may lose some teams to a newer Big 12.
Yeah, I really do think the Pac-12 is going to have a hard time. And I think it's going to be some sort of merger between the Pac-12 and the Big 12.
Oh, I would be surprised if that happens.
Maybe you rename the school or the conference to something else, but
I really think, and here's the bottom line, maybe saying that the Big 12 will dissolve is not really the case. But
it might
the Big
still
12
be around.
Will do some big time restructuring. They'll pull in a Boise State or a BYU or
Memphis, UCF,
Memphis and Houston and SMU.
UCF, USF, the Florida schools. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Cincinnati, I forgot about them.
There are schools around that they can pull together a new Big 12 around an Oklahoma State and a TCU and Baylor.
Problem is some of those flagship schools are going to be gone.
Yeah. I mean, you're losing Texas, Oklahoma, probably losing Kansas, probably losing West Virginia. And then the remaining, what does that leave? 8 schools?
6.
6? Oh, because there's 10 now. I forgot. You kind of have to make it work. I mean.
So, I don't know about Oklahoma State. That's kind of a wild card right now.
Yeah.
And I think really some of those Texas schools will probably follow whatever Oklahoma State does. And then Kansas State, we forgot Iowa State. Maybe. I actually don't think Iowa State's going to be left out in the cold. They might go to the Big Ten. I don't know.
I think Iowa State gets pulled into the Big Ten.
It's going to be tricky with Iowa, but
that was my only hesitation with saying that Iowa State would fit in the Big Ten, because I don't know if Iowa wants them there.
Yeah, I mean that's one vote. I'm going to assume that the SEC's bylaws are the same with the rest of these 14-team conferences, and you need 11. Well, you're already one down, probably in the Big Ten with Iowa. So. Can you get some of the other schools to vote for you?
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. And I've seen a similar argument with the ACC. I've seen some West Virginia fans. I'm dead serious. We have some of the worst fans who people already look down on West Virginia. We don't need West Virginians looking down on West Virginia, and they do. And I'm guilty of it sometimes too. But they're like, the ACC is more likely to accept UCF than us. I'm like, dude. Where's your brain?
Nah,
They need 11 votes.
That's recency.
Florida State and Miami aren't going to let that happen. That's 2 votes gone right there. You only have 1 more vote. Or, I'm sorry, you need 2 more.
Yeah, I mean, there's no. You're right. There's no way that Florida State and Miami are letting UCF anywhere near the ACC. I don't think Georgia Tech would be very keen on having them in the ACC.
You could maybe talk some of the football schools into it, but the problem is one of those big football schools in the conference is going to vote no. Florida State is not going to let that happen.
I don't think Clemson would let that happen.
Maybe. I don't know.
Who runs that conference? I mean, let's call a spade here. But on the flip side of things, I think West Virginia is a great addition to the ACC.
Yeah, so the ACC...
I see having a problem with that would be Pitt. Obviously,
no, I don't think so.
Really?
I'm going to tell you right now, we don't have the best experience with the ACC. We have been passed over twice by the ACC. Once in 2004 when they added Virginia Tech and Miami and Boston College over us. And then again in 2011 when they took Pitt and Syracuse. And then claiming West Virginia didn't have very good academics. Some of that is warranted. West Virginia is not known as an academic school. I think the academics are better than what a lot of people think. You look at acceptance rate and you're thinking, well, they take a lot of people. I'm telling you, acceptance rate is high at WVU because one of its missions is to accept a lot of in-state kids because they have a hard life. Some of them have a hard life.
There's 2 schools to go to in West Virginia, and you can either go to Marshall or you can go to WVU.
And WVU is far better than Marshall.
Exactly.
I mean, we have more. I saw someone say today, we have more Rhodes Scholars than all but 5 schools in both the Big Ten and the ACC, 2 of the academic conferences, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the ACC is kind of the big wild card here. They need to hit a home run because I think it's a matter of time. Give it another 10 years. The SEC comes reaching out to Clemson and Florida State. So I think the ACC really's got to make a pull here. And you're not going to match what the SEC just did by adding Oklahoma and Texas.
No.
But I'll give you 2 schools that would help you a lot. One of them is my school. And
I totally agree with you. I think West Virginia would be a great addition.
And one of them is Notre Dame. If you can pull that off.
I think you're totally right. I think that would be.
If you can pull that off, that is not on par with the SEC did, but it's not a huge drop off. Yeah, that's as close as you can get.
As close as you can get. I don't know.
I think Notre Dame might have a bigger following than both Texas and Oklahoma.
Oh, totally. They're the other brand that you could argue is as big as Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, bar none. I mean, they're probably the most storied college football program. They're a pretty darn good college basketball program.
Mm-hmm.
They've got great academics. They have the backing of the entire Catholic Church. I mean, it's,
that's the no-brainer. That's why this is where I think we're going to be stuck for a while because I think the ACC is going to wait on Notre Dame. Same with the Big Ten. Yeah. I think they're both going to wait. So it's going to be a while. I don't expect these other teams to join until the Big Ten or the ACC knows whether or not they can get Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think, and you may not agree with me on this, but I think the ACC has a leg up.
Well, contractually, if Notre Dame is going to join a conference, I've already read it has to be the ACC.
Yeah.
So they got a leg up there. Can they pull that? I don't know.
Can they finish it off and get them as a football school?
It's kind of tough. It's similar to Texas and the Longhorn Network. Notre Dame has NBC, and I'm sure they get paid a lot of money for it. I've always been told by some people that Notre Dame was waiting to see what the ACC network was generating before joining. And I can't imagine it's the same as what they're making from NBC, but maybe you can work out a deal. I don't know.
I can't really blame them either.
I can't.
I mean, it makes sense. I hadn't thought about that when thinking about what would happen when the Big 12 dissolves and everybody's scurrying.
I'm already gears are
galaxy
turning, man.
brain
When that was announced, the gears were turning. I'm dead serious. I'm ready to leave the Big 12. I've been ready to leave for a few years.
Oh yeah, I think everybody has known that the Big 12 is going to be sinking.
The writing was on the right. This has been on the writing on the wall for a decade.
Yeah,
and they tried to save it, and they did a pretty good job of saving it for a few years, but it was inevitable. It was going to happen.
I totally agree with you.
So there's another school, I think the ACC, if it can't get Notre Dame, is Cincinnati. And I don't think that's that's a great get.
No, but I think it's the best that you could do if you get into a kind of a scrambling situation.
Yeah.
I think that you could.
I saw another West Virginia fan say they're going to add UConn over us. I was like, bro, UConn might not have a football team in a decade.
They would add Rutgers before they add UConn.
And Rutgers has joined the Big Ten.
Yeah, and Rutgers is not leaving the Big Ten. So, I mean, you know.
And I've seen so many.
Yeah, that wouldn't make any sense.
I've wanted to talk about this because it pertains to me as a West Virginia fan. And because I've seen so many West Virginia fans harp on our history with the ACC, which is valid.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
But are you really going to sit here and tell me that other conferences aren't going to see the value of us? You're going to tell me Wake Forest deserves to be in a Power 5, Power 4 conference over West Virginia, or Rutgers, or Mississippi State, or I mean, come on.
Oregon State.
Yeah, Oregon State. Come on, yeah. Have some confidence, and I am. I'm like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic.
And you should be. I mean, I think. I don't know. I think it makes more sense. I understand the waiting on Notre Dame thing.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that, and that makes sense.
And I've seen some teams, well, if they can't get Notre Dame, they'll just pass. That very well may be true, but I'm telling you right now, if they don't, it's a death sentence. But
at some point, it's going to be West Virginia will get swept up by somebody, whether it's the new Big 12 or an ACC that sweeps them up. West Virginia belongs in a power conference, and I think it's going to be in one. It just.
I think I really do believe we're going to have the backing of some schools in the ACC.
I don't see many schools that would have a problem with it.
Well, so if we need 11,
Virginia's and the North Carolinas,
yeah, well,
thumb up their ass,
yeah,
and say, "Oh, I'm Duke and I'm better than you."
Yeah, so
you're not.
I've gone through this. I want to give some examples why I think it's really going to be different this time. One is John Swofford is no longer the commissioner of the ACC. He retired. The new commissioner of the ACC has no previous ties to the conference, as far as I know. I know he was the athletic director at Northwestern and then at Northern Illinois. Education-wise, he went to Tennessee and Arizona State, 2 football schools. So
party schools. I mean, let's
party schools.
Fade
so he should know where his bread's buttered. It's football. It's not academics, and I'm not saying academics aren't important, but football.
They have plenty of academic schools.
I know. So number 2 is our athletic director, Shane Lyons, has previous ties to the ACC. He used to work in the ACC headquarters office for 10 years. So I think he's well connected. Number 3, you're going to have to expand to compete with the SEC, with what the SEC just did. They're desperate. And the last time the ACC was desperate, what did they do? You probably don't know, but
they made the ACC network.
Well, I'm going a little further back. The last time the ACC was truly desperate was when Maryland left the conference for the Big Ten, and they were short of school.
Yeah.
And who did they add? An overlooked academics.
Did they add at that point?
Can you think of it? I'll let you think of it.
Was it Louisville?
It was Louisville.
Louisville, yeah.
So overlooked academics. I'm not speaking bad about Louisville's academics, but it's not the most academic school.
Yeah.
So
let's be honest here. Lamar got it.
We got. I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah. I've
already gone through it with some people. Like, I think all the old Big East schools will have our back. Miami, Pitt, Syracuse, Boston College, Virginia Tech, Louisville are all going to be like, it's been long enough. We got to let these guys in. Florida State and Clemson are going to be like, this is a football school.
Mm-hmm.
I think top 25 program. We'd be stupid not to let them in. Then you look at the other schools who we don't really have ties with, but Georgia Tech and NC State, who place an emphasis on football. We're already up to 10 right there. I think who would vote for us? It comes down to Wake Forest, Duke, North Carolina, Virginia.
Syracuse.
I already said Syracuse.
Oh, you said Syracuse, old Big East school.
Old Big East. Comes down to those four. We just need one. And surely one of them will think.
So here's the thing. I don't know how much you know about North Carolina State.
I had a buddy who was from that area.
They're a school after West Virginia's own heart. They are nothing like Duke.
Oh, I know. Yeah, for sure. I know that.
I think you would have an ally in North Carolina State.
Yes, I agree.
I think the schools that you have to convince, and you may not even need to, because there's three votes, is Duke, North Carolina, and University of Virginia.
Yes. Wake Forest is sort of a wild card to me.
Where you can make the argument is West Virginia is a great basketball program. And those three schools put their emphasis on basketball.
Yep.
Adding a West Virginia only strengthens their basketball strength of schedule, which is already one of the best in the country.
It comes down to football, though, and you can't overlook West Virginia football.
Exactly. So I don't see, unless they're all poo-poo and hoity-toity about their academics, which
I can't imagine they will be this time.
But I don't see a legitimate athletic reason for them to say no.
I couldn't agree more. Now, I have seen one West Virginia guy that I used to work with make the argument to try to join the Big Ten. And I originally was like, no, but then I was like, well, let's hear him out. And he made some good points. You know, it's really a matter of time probably until the SEC adds Clemson and Florida State. Mm-hmm. Then what happens to the ACC?
Yeah.
He's got a point. Is the SEC going to be able to poach Big Ten schools? I don't know. That's such an old conference. I think they're so set in their ways. He's got a point.
I don't see anybody leaving the Big Ten. Maybe Nebraska gets pulled back into an old school, but they were so eager to leave the Big 12 to go to the Big 10 that I don't see them leaving anywhere. And so, no, I don't.
So while we're doing this, let's go ahead and shift gears to what the Big 10 could do. Because we've touched up on the ACC enough. So the Big 10 has, like the ACC, has some options. I think they got Iowa State, Kansas, West Virginia, and then some of the other Big 12 schools. The thing with the Big 10 is that they place a lot of emphasis on academics, and they place a lot of emphasis specifically on AAU, if you're familiar with that.
Yep.
So AAU, I had a buddy who is a Big Ten alum from Purdue, academic school. Did not know what AAU was. And I said, well, it's basically...
I didn't know what AAU was until today when I looked it up on the internet.
I've known it for a while, but it's basically a country club of colleges, prestigious colleges.
That's what I figured out.
Yeah.
It's the Mountain Brother College.
And 13 of the 14 Big Ten schools are AAU members. The only one, Nebraska.
Good. Yeah.
Now, Nebraska was a member when it joined the Big Ten, so they probably got, well, you're an AAU school. Okay, great, we'll join the Big Ten, and then we'll take it back.
Not paying their dues, yeah.
So West Virginia is not an AAU school. Could they overlook that? Who knows? I mean, it really, this time around, it really comes down to branding.
Yeah.
So, however, there are two schools in the Big 12, who are AAU schools and who are geographic fit for the Big 10. One is Kansas, and the other is Iowa State. Yeah,
those are the two that make the most sense in terms of in terms of geography, in terms of kind of fit within the Big Ten system.
See, I don't think Iowa State really fits with the Big Ten. Kansas does, I think.
Yeah.
Iowa State, not so much. They strike me as sort of a West Virginia, and I don't think we're really a fit in the Big 12 or the Big Ten.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you there, but they're another one of those teams or universities that's kind of stuck on a bit of an island because they could go north, join the Big Ten with the in-state school with Iowa's already there. They could go south if a new Big 12 forms around whatever. They're just kind of they're stuck. I mean, they could be pulled in a bunch of different directions.
Yeah.
So, like you said, they may not be the best fit in the world with the Big Ten, and I think you're right that really the only school that would have an issue with it would be Iowa.
I think Kansas wouldn't have very many issues getting in.
No.
Iowa is going to take some convincing. Let's pretend that they don't vote. That's one vote down. You only have 2 more to play with. No. Can the rest of the Big Ten overlook that? I don't know. I think the football schools might not overlook, but I think some of the football schools will see the value in Iowa State currently. Yeah. Not historically, but currently Iowa State has a good program.
I think especially the Big Ten West sees the value in the Wisconsins and the Minnesotas and the Northwesterns and the Nebraskas definitely see the value in adding an Iowa State to their conference schedule. I mean, so really what you're looking at is convincing the Indianas and Michigans and Ohio States of the world. Which Michigan, who the hell knows?
Yeah, but Michigan's weird. I think you could probably get Ohio State or Penn State to vote for you. Maybe really, Michigan State. Michigan's weird though. I don't know. Really, they're like Texas North.
Yeah, the thing about the Big Ten is they're not as bad, but they're kind of similar to the Big 12 in that they play to Oklahoma State or Ohio State. And Michigan.
Agree.
I mean, that's the truth. That those are their moneymakers. They play to Ohio State and Michigan. So if Ohio State and Michigan say no, there's a great chance that Iowa State doesn't make it in. Mm-hmm. Will they? I think Ohio State would see the value of adding an Iowa State, especially if they're adding them in division.
Well, another thing is you get a pretty good basketball school, too. I know they just fired their coach. They had at least one down year this past year. But over the last 10 years, Iowa State's been a pretty good basketball school.
Iowa State's been a pretty decently consistent program, making it to Sweet 16s and Elite Eights. And they've had a couple of really high draft picks. And,
They don't have baseball, but guess what? There are quite a few programs in the Big Ten that don't have baseball.
Yeah.
Wisconsin is one of them. There might be others. That was actually the only one I could think of.
Yeah. And then there's not, and coming down to it, there's not really any good baseball programs in the Big 12. In the Big 10,
Michigan just played for a national championship a few years ago.
Michigan's really the only good baseball program.
Minnesota's been all right before.
They've been okay. Nebraska has been okay.
Indiana's been okay, but you're right.
You can make an argument for, but other than that, it's a lot of 500 ball clubs. And
but up north, that's going to be the case.
That's going to be the case anyway. Yeah.
West Virginia, we've been a pretty decent baseball program of late, I guess. And I'm still kind of surprised because we're such a northern school, just about.
Yeah, historically, yeah.
So let's go then out west to the Pac-12. I just thought about this. What if the Big Ten could convince Colorado? Keep that Nebraska-Colorado rivalry. Probably too far, but
you
keep building that bridge.
That'd be a bit of a stretch geographically.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you get a long-standing, storied, historical rivalry back in a conference.
In Colorado, I don't think they fit in the Pac-12. I never got that.
I don't think Colorado fits really anywhere.
Well, aside from the 90s, they really haven't been any good.
No.
They had a little bit of a run in the 90s, but that's about it in football, at least.
What was that quarterback's name? Was that Cordell Stewart?
He did go there. But they won a national title, I think, with somebody else.
Was it somebody else?
It was the dude. I don't know if you've ever seen it. There is a 30 for 30, something called like the Gospel of Mac. I don't know. Mike McIntyre, I think, was. No, that's the dude that just fired. But anyway, whatever his name was, head coach of Colorado won a national championship there.
That's right.
But big Christian.
I don't think that the Big Ten could get over how much of a outlier they would be culture and fit wise, because they're so damn weird. I have a cousin that graduated from UC Boulder, and God bless her, she is just an odd bird.
You talking politically?
Politically,
I knew that was coming.
Is
she from Alabama?
She graduated from Oak Mountain High School.
Really? Huh. All right. Went to UC Boulder. Interesting. Yeah. So Pac-12, I think they probably absorb Oklahoma State and some of those Texas schools.
Yeah,
it's going to be the scraps, I think.
Yeah, but it's going to be – you could make an argument that if they decide not to do that, they could go after BYU and Boise State, call it a day, add those two, call it a day, and leave the other guys to figure it out for themselves.
The thing with Boise, and I'm not knocking them because we kind of sort of just made this argument with West Virginia. You're not really getting – but with Boise State, you're not really getting much outside of football. And I think they could come in and compete in the Pac-12 easily, but you're not really getting much elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd love to see Boise State get a seat at the table because I think they could compete with the big boys. I really do. Yeah. They do a good job there. Can you convince them to let you in, though? Maybe, but it's tough.
Boise State's going to run into with any conference, really.
Yeah, and BYU, while I think every conference, maybe not every like the SEC, but Big 12 I think should have jumped on them. Pac-12 should have already jumped on them. They like Notre Dame, I think, have a pretty massive following.
Yeah, sneaky, huge following.
I didn't know how big their stadium is. Like I shouldn't say. I shouldn't say it rivals SEC, but it's shocking how big their stadium is.
Oh yeah, they go nuts out there.
Yeah, the thing holding them back is Olympic sports. I know they don't like to play on Sundays.
Yeah,
I think that can be overlooked.
Oh yeah,
doesn't the SEC not play baseball on Sunday?
They do. They don't play baseball on Sunday on Easter.
Okay.
They don't play baseball, and then they have like one team doesn't play, or one series doesn't play on Sunday every week.
Okay. I feel like you can make that, especially with baseball. I don't know if BYU has a baseball team, but if they did,
they do.
They do that. Okay. If you add them, just play every single conference series on a Thursday through Saturday. Like that. I don't get why that's such a big deal. I really don't.
I don't see why that would be a problem at all.
Other Olympic sports, I know gymnastics does a lot on Sundays and some other sports. Do it on a Saturday, or a Monday. You're already getting hard viewership as it is.
That can easily be.
I think so too.
Figured out. I don't, and I think of schools like that, in that realm. I don't think there's many schools that can compete with BYU's brand, with BYU's following.
They're up there. They might be bigger. They might be like Notre Dame. I might go BYU too.
Oh yeah. Of schools that, of
the ones that are available,
Right, exactly. That can kind of go really wherever they want if somebody comes calling.
Yeah.
I think you're totally right that they're not quite Notre Dame, obviously, but they're not as far behind.
No, I really, especially in football, I think they're a top 25, 30 program.
Yeah. Or
I know they're a little weird out there.
They're a little odd.
They're a little odd. But I think that's a perfect fit for the Pac-12.
Each is a
I think they're a perfect fit for the Pac-12. Now, can you get Utah on board? Maybe. I know Utah and BYU is a pretty big rivalry. Maybe you could get them on board for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even think it's a bad academic school. Isn't it private?
Pretty. Yeah, it's private. I think it's a pretty good academic school, actually. I mean, it's the flagship university of the Mormon faith. I mean, like, if you're Mormon, your number one school is BYU, and it's a good school. You know, it's not. You know.
So.
It's not Birmingham Southern. I mean,
hey, don't be dissing. But didn't you just said Corey, my brother?
No offense to Corey, but like, it's not.
Well, Corey went to two schools. Corey went to UAH first, and then he went to BSC. Well, now you've made my brother out to be this idiot, and the joke's on you because he's in grad school at Northwestern.
yeah, he's beating all of us.
Yeah. So I want to run another scenario by you. What are the chances? I think they're pretty high that one of these conferences goes to 18 teams. Pac-12's already talking about going to 20. I don't think 18's out of the question.
I don't think it's out of the question. I think it has to be the right additions to the conferences. I think it has to be.
I look at the Pac-12 because they're already talking about it.
Look at the SEC making that jump with Texas and Oklahoma, and then in however long. Clemson and Florida State. Yeah. I think that's the caliber of move you have to make.
Yeah.
I think it's because, and maybe I'm stuck in the 90s here. I've had this discussion with some of my friends, and they're like, "You're not thinking about it in 2021. You're thinking about it in 1998, maybe." But it has to be the right move. You don't want to. The SEC is not just going to grab Memphis and grab.
No, there are. I think that there are.
18. We're the best.
I think that there are about 4, if the SEC wanted to do that, there are about 4 legitimate options. The 2 obvious are Clemson and Florida State. Maybe Georgia Tech. But the other 2 that I'm thinking of are Oklahoma State, and I'm bringing up my team again, West Virginia.
Yeah, I think Virginia Tech could be
that one too.
A player.
I think NC State could too. You're right. There are more options than I thought because I don't see any of those Carolina schools except NC State bolting.
But I don't think that any of those schools, other than probably those first 4, are the right move.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I think adding an NC State or adding a Wake Forest or a Louisville or I think it has to be the right move. I think Clemson, I think Florida State, Oklahoma State. I say Virginia Tech over West Virginia just because it's a little bit bigger of an academic or an athletic program overall.
Hold on. Why do you think that?
I think they just have more football. For what football is probably a bigger program. I think they're not as far behind in basketball as you may think. And I think it fits in. They're a land-grant school. It fits in with the Auburns, the Mississippi States, the Arkansas of the world. So I think it's a little bit better fit. I'm not saying that West Virginia would not be a good fit. Let me clarify here, so all your Mountaineer buddies don't holler at me.
No. I see what you're coming from. I disagree. But
closer. I mean, I'm not saying that we should choose Liberty over West Virginia here, Chase or Shane. I'm saying Virginia Tech may be a little bit easier to swallow than West Virginia, but
I don't know.
Like I said, I think it has to be the right move, and I think that right move for a lot of different conferences you can make the argument for. I think, like in the ACC, I think you have to get to make it to 18 teams. I think it has to be a school. I think Notre Dame is the number one school for the ACC or the Big Ten to make that jump to 16 or 18. I think you have to get Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I think like for the ACC, I think the best move would be after that would be West Virginia, and then you look at convincing Florida State and Miami to let South or Central Florida in, and then that fourth team, who knows? But I think
in that scenario, probably Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, maybe, yeah.
Cincinnati and Louisville back in the day used to be a pretty big rivalry.
Could probably make the argument for Cincinnati as being those right teams.
Just take a chance on at that point.
Yeah.
It depends. I mean, you're getting to 18 schools. As someone I've heard the term a lot. You got a lot of mouths to feed then.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. People will tune in to watch those four teams. Definitely UCF, West Virginia, Notre Dame, Cincinnati.
Maybe. I mean, but maybe you can pull Rutgers away from the Big Ten. I mean, maybe you add a UConn kind of as
don't do UConn. UConn has basically given up on football and just said we're going to be a basketball school. Which all right, hats off to you. You're not going to make any money.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, and then you look at the Big Ten. Kansas, Notre Dame, those are the two big ones. You have to add those two if you're going to get to 18.
It's going to be harder for the Big Ten to get Notre Dame than it is the ACC.
I mean, so here's overall, I think 16 is a good number for four major conferences. I think 16 is a perfect number.
Yeah.
I think 64 teams in a four-conference system is a great number.
I agree.
I mean, any more than that, I think gets a little messy, and you start adding teams that probably don't deserve to be in a power conference. And like I said, maybe this is the old way of thinking. I understand that, but the old way of thinking worked for a reason, and it worked for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think at least it's valid.
Yeah. I got one more scenario for you.
Okay.
And I really think this is where it's trending, is the SEC becomes like the NFL and just absorbs everybody.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but they absorb most of the teams.
I think the NCAA is on its way out the door.
Yep.
Then at that point, it's all about power within or power held by conferences.
Which I hate, but I think there needs to be one governing body better than the NCAA.
Yeah.
And everybody answers to that governing body.
Mm-hmm.
And the governing body makes all the decisions. So if the SEC
body
says
is on the corner of 20th and Arrington Boulevard in downtown Birmingham, Alabama.
Is that headquarters of the SEC?
Yeah, that's where that.
Honestly, that's where we're headed. I really do believe that. Give it another 10 years. I think it's going to happen.
I don't think that conferences are going away.
No,
but I do think that the power within college athletics is shifting more. Is definitely shifting away from the NCAA and to the conferences, and the SEC has most of the power.
Yeah.
I mean, they generate the most money in all sports. I mean,
I think that's what's going to prevent the SEC from absorbing everyone, and the Big Ten being non-existent, the ACC being non-existent, and the Pac-12 even being non-existent, is, hey, don't take our guys. We'll join you, and we'll create this big league, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it won't be, the SEC. It'll be the governing body of college football or something, located in downtown Birmingham.
Sure.
The SEC is probably going to be the one. It doesn't go away. Like, that name itself won't go away necessarily, but you can't call it the SEC Southeastern Conference when USC and LA is under your banner, you know?
Yeah, when USC is traveling across the country to play
Right.
Georgia Tech, yeah, you know. I mean,
so it's. I think that's where we're headed, and that's what I have been hoping for, honestly, is this governing body and the governing body saying conferences are done. We're going to line you up however we want.
Yeah, so I think the problem there is that kind of takes away the shine of kind of the regionalistic aspects of college athletics, which I understand is probably going to happen anyway, because it's, at least in a football standpoint and probably in a basketball standpoint too, college athletics is going to become more of a minor league than anything else. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be a feeder league for the NFL and the NBA. So, I mean, I get what you're saying. I don't know necessarily if I want that to happen, or if I see that happening even.
I think we're a ways. I mean, I remember conference expansion first started, 92 when the SEC added Arkansas and South Carolina?
Yeah.
Something like that. And now we're 30 years later, and it's already shifted to a Power 4.
Yeah.
Give it another 30 years. Is it all under one banner?
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I mean, I you know.
And I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't have a problem with it as long as my team is involved.
Yeah. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And we're already at 64. Make it like 72. Give Boise State a shot. UCF, Cincinnati, Memphis. Give them a shot. Put them in one of these conferences regions, so to speak. Maybe not conferences, but regions with a big boy. And let's go to work.
Let's do it. In 40 years, I'm okay with that.
I don't mean it's going to happen right now.
Yeah.
But in another 20 or 30 years, I really do think that that's where we're headed.
I'm fine with it in 2060.
And the SEC is basically going to take over and is going to be the governing body of college football. I really do. I think the writing's on the wall.
Watching robots play football. Okay.
Especially if it adds Clemson and Florida State in the next decade.
Oh, yeah.
Once that happens, that's where we're going.
All hell's going to break loose.
Then it's going to reach out to Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, TCU, West Virginia, and then the tentacles just keep going and going and going.
Nebraska, and then Utah.
Then before you know it, the SEC's got all
coast to coast.
Coast to coast. But they can't be called the SEC. That is going to bother me.
Yeah, it will, yeah.
Now, how you divvy that up? Maybe you still keep the names of these conferences, the Big Ten, the SEC.
Like a division type,
kind of, yeah. And then you got subdivisions. I heard one guy say, maybe it's going to be like an AFC and NFC in the NFL. And then you just divvy it up into the, small kind of geographic pods, regions, whatever you want to call them. And then that's where I think we should go. And I think this governing body should have a rotation of schedules. And the schools don't determine that. 1 year you're matched up with the Pac-12 North Division. 1 year you're matched up with the Big Ten West Division. And so on and so forth.
Yeah. I mean,
not necessarily everyone in that division, but like the NFL, wherever you finished. So if you finish first, you play the winner of last year's division champ. If you finish last, you play the winner of last year's last place, slot.
I don't hate it, but I don't want to see it.
It's changing. It's changing. College athletics is changing.
I don't like change.
You got to get on board. I'm not saying you got to get on board. I really do think that it's probably going to stop at this point for a while.
Yeah, I think after this shuffle, I think is kind of like what happened in 2012. It's going to sit for a handful of years.
Because the ACC signed a deal to like 2036 or something.
Yeah.
So Clemson and Florida State can't really go anywhere right now.
No.
But give it till 2031, like what we're seeing with Oklahoma and Texas.
Somebody will start talking. Yeah.
So that we talked a good deal about that. I'm proud of ourselves. I think we did some good, solid college football talk with the season just around the corner.
I'm all right with it.
So I wanted to bring you on also because I know your babies are due.
Very soon.
When is that? Next month? A couple days? I know it's August.
Yeah, August.
What day exactly?
Anywhere from the 8th to the 22nd.
Oh, shit. That's next week. Is it not?
The 8th is 2 Sundays from yesterday. Or 2 weeks from yesterday.
Okay, so the end of, technically not next week, the following week.
Yeah.
Shit, man. You're getting close.
We're right up on top of it, man.
I shouldn't bring that up. I'll text you later. Because I know one person said he wanted to keep it quiet. Someone we both know very well.
Yeah, we're okay right now. We're pretty much set up. We're ready for them to be here. It's just now.
Have we discussed names? I think last time.
Yeah.
Are you close?
Peter and Lucas.
Okay.
We know who is coming first and who is coming second.
Oh, really? Which one is it? I'm gonna guess Peter.
Peter is first. Peter is
I don't
baby
know why,
A,
but I thought Peter.
Lucas is baby B. How they figure that out,
I wonder. I just figured it was chance. You just show up and they're like, okay, well, Lucas is ready to come. Let's yank him out.
No, that's apparently not the case.
Huh. I would not have guessed that. Shows what I know.
Science, man.
So let's talk some baseball while I have you. Trade deadline's coming up.
Trade deadline is this week, Friday.
So it's a good thing I brought you on. That's actually perfect timing. I have seen a rumor, and I'm trying not to get myself excited, but I saw Vegas odds makers put the Mets as the team to land Max Scherzer if he's dealt. I have a very hard time seeing that happening, I'll be honest. But it gets me excited.
I saw that one of the favorites to land Max Scherzer is the Los Angeles Dodgers.
So, they got enough, man. Well, with Bauer, is Bauer back?
No.
Okay. I know he's going through some stuff right now.
He is not. And he won't be for a while.
Okay. So, that makes sense then.
Scherzer to the Dodgers makes sense. They have the prospect capital to make it happen. They are attractive to him as a contender. The Mets make sense too, though. They have less prospect capital than the Dodgers, but enough to make it happen.
But they're going to have to give up their top guys in order for Washington to trade him in the division.
Oh, yeah. The other team, I believe Max Scherzer has a no-trade clause. And I believe that there's only a handful of teams that he would accept a trade to. One of those teams, because Max Scherzer is a proud Mizzou Tiger.
Really?
One of those teams is the St. Louis Cardinals.
Huh.
And I have been beating the Max Scherzer is going to be a Cardinal drum for years. And it hasn't happened yet. Doesn't look like it's going to happen this year.
How many years left does he have on his deal?
I believe he's a free agent at the end of this year.
Okay.
So he would be a rental, like a true rental. Yeah. But, I mean, does Washington, are they far enough out to warrant a blow-up like Chicago is fixing to do?
Yeah, so is the Cubs doing that too? It sounds like Bryant's gone and Rizzo is gone. I don't know about Baez.
That Bryant, Rizzo, and Craig Kimbrell are all but out the door.
Okay.
They just have to find the trade partner for them. Mm-hmm. Baez and Contreras are maybes, and then there are some other ones.
Talk about a complete 180.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago, the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. We're saying that this is the next MLB dynasty.
You know, Shane,
and they never get back to the World Series. Granted, baseball's a very hard sport to have a dynasty.
You just hate to see the Cubs like this. I mean, it's just so much to see the Cubs after all that talk.
You know, I was on board with the Cubs. You know, in 2016, I was kind of cheering for them. But then they got arrogant. They won that championship. They got really arrogant. And I will admit, they're annoying now. And now, I mean, they stink. I think they stink now. Are they still leading the NL Central, or is it the Brewers?
The Brewers have run away and hid.
Okay. Good for the Brewers. Milwaukee Bucks just won a title. Aaron Rodgers is back. Maybe the Brewers can keep it going.
What they needed has come to fruition. They needed their starting pitchers to outperform, and Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns have been revelations for that team. They have been Cy Young contenders, which is what they needed, and they already had the bullpen to do it. They had the lineup to do it.
Who do they have outside of Yelich? Lorenzo Cain's old. Ryan Braun's old. I don't even think Ryan Braun still plays.
It's guys like Abisail Garcia and Colton Wong is on that team now.
Wasn't he with the Cardinals or? Yeah, he was with the Cardinals
for a long time. Yeah, Willie Adames that they made a trade.
Yes, Adames. Yeah.
He raised back in April or May.
Yeah,
has been incredible for them. Their catcher Grandal's not there anymore.
Grandal's with the White Sox.
Yeah, but it's guys like that. It's not the household guys.
Yeah,
Yelich, Cain, and Ryan Braun's not nearly the player he was, but they're a complete ball club, and it's led by their pitching staff.
Greg Counsell, even he had a messed up batting stance, but dude must be a pretty good manager.
Yeah, and he's found his stride as a manager. It took him a while. He went essentially straight from the dugout to the steps and became a manager. But yeah, he's figured out a way. He's very much a player's manager. The players like to play for him. So I mean, it's they're doing great and good for them. I mean, that's a fan base that is desperate for a return to the 80s when they kind of got screwed in the small amount of reshuffling that was done when they moved from the AL to the NL. I mean, they ran into some teams in the NL when they moved that they just could not get around. They could not get around the Cardinals. They could not get around.
Yeah, I remember when my family lived in Wisconsin. We would go to Brewers games all the time, and they had a banner. Whatever year it was, I think it was 1979 AL champs, and I was like,
it was 1982.
AL. Yeah, as a kid, it was 82. I thought it was
82
in the 70s.
AL champs because they lost to the Cardinals in the World Series.
Okay,
but
yeah, I was like AL. They're in the NL Central now. We're watching. I know the Reds are in the NL. We're watching the Reds play right now. So it didn't occur to me that the MLB could just switch teams to other leagues, and then we saw that 30-some years later with the Astros.
Yeah. It was...
Which I'm still getting used to, Astros being in the AL, and it's been that way for almost a decade.
Yeah. I mean, and then you look at it, the best story, I think, in Major League Baseball right now is the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, for sure.
Best record in baseball.
And we've scoffed at them
in a league, in a division that we said there was no chance that anybody was going to compete with the Dodgers and the Padres. Yep. And Giants are beating them both. Mm-hmm. I think it's great.
I don't like the Giants, but, whatever.
I have a problem
you know what Giants? This does? It really makes the Phillies look stupid for getting rid of Gabe Kapler. Was it Kaplan or Kapler?
Kapler. Gabe Kapler.
Really makes them look stupid.
He was going to be really, really good in Philadelphia. I thought bringing in Kapler and bringing in Bryce and shoring up their pitching with Arrieta and signing JT Realmuto and building around that core. Mm-hmm. signing Didi Gregorius. I really thought the Phillies, and then pulling it all together with Gabe Kapler, really thought that they were going to start something there, and it just didn't work.
Nope.
Kapler
it still hasn't worked.
Got ran out of town, and now is taking the remnants of maybe the most overlooked manager of the last 30 years in Bruce Bochy, who did a remarkable job in all the time that he was there. I think Bruce Bochy is a remarkably overlooked manager in terms of the past 25, 30 years in baseball. Taking what he left and working with it, and the new GM that came from LA, came from the LA front office, what they've been able to put together as a roster. I mean, hats off to them. I mean, they're competing when nobody said that they were going to. And that's the great thing about baseball. A team can put together a season like that. They were going to have.
I've been saying it, though, since May. I'm expecting a decline from the Giants, but it hasn't happened yet.
And at some point, you have to think, maybe it's not going to happen.
I usually am, like, after about August 1st, like, the team is what they are by that point. That's usually been my rule.
August 1st is Sunday. I mean,
hard to believe.
Yeah, that's crazy to believe. A and B. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think you have to start believing that the Giants are contenders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And maybe they add at the deadline. Maybe they.
I haven't really paid much attention. We can look at it here. NL East. I'll tell you, NL East. Pretty surprising that the Braves are below 500. The Mets are leading the NL East. The Phillies, though, right behind them at 500, 4 games behind. And then Washington and Miami rounded out. Oddly enough, the Cincinnati Reds are in second in the NL Central with 3 games above 500. I never would have guessed that, going by the way my brother talks about them. The Cardinals at 500, the Cubs 2 games below 500, and then the Pirates rounding it out. And then, NL West is loaded. The Giants at 62 wins, the Dodgers at 61, Padres at 58. I mean, that's within striking distance. And then you got Colorado, and then Arizona, poor Arizona. Run differential of minus 150. I saw something at one point. They had lost like 31 of 35 games. I mean, shoot.
They had lost something like that, and I don't believe they've won a game on the road yet this year. Or something insane. There was a point in the season, like way into the season, where they had not won a game on the road yet.
Wow. Let's see if I can find that.
God bless Arizona. They are bad.
Yeah, that's kind of uncharacteristic of Arizona, I feel like. They've always kind of been an organization, I feel, that regardless of what happens, and they've lost some stars, they still kind of field a decent ball club.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to this year. I mean, coming off a weird year last year, you get a full year of Madison Bumgarner, who I know is getting old. But
so I would take what you said pretty seriously. They are 12-40 on the road. So, there probably was a stretch there where they had not won a game on the road.
12-40. Or maybe it was like they lost like an asinine number of games in a row on the road. So it was something that caught my eye that was like, that can't be true. And then I found out that it was true.
Another big surprise, I think, is the Boston Red Sox. Out of nowhere.
Yeah. They're another team that has, and I don't particularly know how they're doing it. I know the Rays thought they might have been, and the Yankees.
Who's the pitcher? Chris Sale. Is Chris Sale still there? Is he pitching? Didn't he have Tommy John?
For him this year. He's gone on some rehab assignments. He hasn't thrown an inning in the major leagues this year.
That's crazy. I think this shows. I think Alex Cora knows what the fuck he's doing.
I think Alex Cora is a fantastic major league manager.
I mean, he won 108 games, in one season as manager, won the World Series, then was fired the previous offseason, maybe not.
But not because of what he did on the field. Yeah. It was because of his association with the Astros.
Right. So this dude has to just be a genius.
He's
as a manager.
He's a great statistician. He's a great baseball mind.
And I'm honestly pretty surprised Tampa is in second at 60-40, and they've been sellers. They got rid of Adames. I know they just traded Rich Hill. They traded away, I think, somebody else. And I was like, man, the Rays must not be having a great year.
That's just Tampa Bay.
True.
They also added Nelson Cruz. I mean,
Oh, true. They added. That's probably the trade I'm thinking of. They added somebody.
They added Nelson Cruz. I mean, that's just Tampa Bay being Tampa Bay.
Right. So. And then the Yankees, big surprise at just 4 games above 500. And I think I saw that they have lost every series to the Red Sox this year. Maybe got swept.
I think they're 2-10 against the Red Sox this year.
Wow. And then the Blue Jays, I mean, they're fighting, but 2 games above 500, run differential of plus 85 though. That's amazing.
Gotta have pitching for Toronto. They desperately need pitching.
And then Baltimore is Baltimore.
Sure.
Chicago White Sox, the team I think we both said at the beginning of the year, watch out for.
Finally, their year.
19 games above 500. Cleveland, 1 game above 500. And then Detroit coming out of nowhere. I saw that they've been hot. I've seen the Barstool guys tweet about them a lot.
Yeah.
So I guess they just must be hot out of the All-Star break.
Playing good ball right now. Their young guys are throwing the ball well. Casey Mize is throwing the ball well. Matthew Boyd is throwing the ball well. What's that young hitter they got? His name's escaping me, but they got a lot of young guys in the field, at the plate that are playing well. I mean, it's going to be a process for Detroit, but they're on the right direct. They're on the right direction.
And then another big surprise is the Twins.
Twins are bad.
Twins stink, and I didn't see that coming. I thought they were the clear favorite to win this division.
Fire sale imminent.
Then the AL West, Houston Astros are leading, and I'm proud to say that I picked them, I believe, to win this division. But I know you picked Oakland, and Oakland's not far behind, 5.5 games back, plenty of time left. Holy shit, I did not see this. Seattle is 8 games above 500 right now. I did not see that coming. And then the Angels are 500, and then the Rangers are struggling. But Seattle. I mean,
good for Seattle. They've put together their young guys have stepped up. And
their mix got a pretty young core.
I mean, it's just that's another team, kind of like Detroit. It's going to be a process, but they are right now outperforming their expectations, which good for them.
Yeah, it seems like those teams are kind of like the Blue Jays. We expected a little more out of the Blue Jays this year, but we saw them make the playoffs last year, play well, and I think compete maybe with the Dodgers in the playoffs. Maybe. Didn't the Dodgers have the 1 seed? They might have made it 3 games. I don't remember, but
yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Different. They're in different leagues.
Who did they play? They played
maybe the Yankees, Rays. Yeah.
I
think they competed with the Rays.
I think they went 3 with the Rays.
So young core, and they've been banged up. Hasn't George Springer been hurt?
Springer's been hurt. I believe their starting pitching staff. I think their bullpen has been just demolished.
So
I mean, Kirby Yates has been hurt. I know. I'm trying to think of. They've had some other guys that have been hurt, but Springer has definitely been hurt. I think Bo Bichette went down for a while. I believe Hyun-Jin Ryu was down for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think they like the Cardinals have been decimated by injuries on the pitching staff, and their offense has not been able to counter that enough to be competitive with, especially with teams that are 20 games above 500, like the Red Sox and the Rays and the Brewers in the National League. I think, like we said, they have the talent to do it. It's just putting it all together, and unfortunately this year they weren't able to do that because of injury.
Yeah. So, who lands where? Deadline, where do you think they all go? I don't even know who some of the big names are. Obviously Scherzer, but
Scherzer. I'll go Scherzer to the Dodgers. I don't like it, but it's probably going to happen. I think the next biggest guy that is probably on the way out is Trevor Story, the shortstop for the Rockies. I've seen him.
I think this is probably going to be the biggest trade deadline I've seen in a while. There are going to be some big names moved, I think.
Yeah, I think you look at him going to the Yankees as a clear as a major option, and then you look at the Cubs. You know, it really would not surprise me if both Anthony Rizzo and Craig Kimbrell went to Boston.
Kimbrell went to Boston, yeah.
They both went back to Boston. Anthony Rizzo was drafted originally by the Red Sox.
Really?
Kimbrell obviously played for them for a while. And the Red Sox desperately need a back end of the bullpen arm, a legit closer, and they need production out of a first baseman. Would it be even better if it was a left-handed hitter?
So I want to bring this up.
That would take a massive deal on the part of the Red Sox. There would need to be some serious shenanigans happening in the Boston front office.
Am I not? Hang on. Before I get into a story I want to tell, am I not mistaken? Is JD Martinez, has he been dealt?
No, he's supposed to.
Okay, I could have sworn maybe it was a dream, or maybe it was a rumor, but
no,
I thought I'd seen his name. I don't know why, which doesn't make sense. If Boston's a contender, why would you get rid of him?
No, yeah.
But so I got a story to tell while we're on the subject of Boston. It made me think of the Yankees, and then it brought me back to this story. So I remember being in Morgantown in 2018. I was working for the newspaper, and one of my bosses at the newspaper, a guy named Sean Manning, great guy, massive New York Yankees fan. And I can remember sitting at a bar with him after work, and we were watching one of the games of the World. I think it was the game Boston won the World Series, Game 5 or something against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And they won the World Series, and I can remember Sean being so upset and so jealous that Boston had kind of come out of nowhere that year and won the World Series. Yeah. And I remember him steaming and being like, they better fucking...
I believe went through the Yankees in the division series that year.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I remember him being so jealous and mad and just being like, these fuckers better enjoy this because they got nothing after this. They're going to have to trade guys. They're going to have to do this and that. Their farm system stinks. They better fucking enjoy this. And then the Yankees are going to take over. And I'm like, here we are 3 years later. Boston's running the AL East, and the Yankees stink.
Just hate to see it.
I do hate the Yankees. I don't care enough about the Cubs, but yeah, I do hate the Yankees, and I love seeing Yankees fans upset. Not necessarily Sean. I like Sean a lot. He just had a baby, actually, and he sends me snaps of her all the time. And I'm like, you know what, though? Like I said to William after he had his baby, especially with William, because his team won the Stanley Cup the same year he had a baby. Yeah. And I was like, that's it for you. I don't want to hear complaints come football season about the Giants sucking and then Auburn not getting any breaks. That's it for you. You don't get to enjoy anything else. Some of us don't have a baby. Some of us as hockey teams can't get it done. Shut up.
Yeah, I kind of got that because I got married and the hockey team won a Stanley Cup.
Was that the same year?
Yeah, same year.
So I got a question. Now we're switching over to hockey, I guess, a little bit. I thought it was so funny a few weeks ago. You kind of got what I got with some Aaron Rodgers treatment and Vladimir Tarasenko, it sounds like.
Yeah, he has decided he doesn't want to play for St. Louis anymore. He was on his way out anyway. So it's not really all that surprising.
Didn't the Blues just make the playoffs?
Yeah, we made the playoffs. We got beaten 5. I'm sorry. In the first
round.
Give
yourself a little credit. 5
games. We got beaten 5. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
The Blues are always they're like the Rays. They'll get rid of guys and still be decent, you know.
Yeah, the biggest loss this season really is Vince Dunn, who we lost in the expansion draft. That's going to be
So that's another thing is the expansion draft.
He's one of the best players on that team now.
There's actually a few things we can talk about now, but let's talk about Seattle. So Seattle Kraken. This is something
great logo, great.
I love the logo.
Wonderful, well done by the Seattle.
I can remember. I was really hoping Seattle would get a team. I don't know why. I just think Seattle is one of those cities. It's kind of on an island in terms of markets in the United States. It's big. They deserve more than 2 teams. I know they got shafted by the NBA and the Supersonics. And I remember I wrote a post about it on my blog. I was like, I think Seattle's going to be a great fit in the NHL. I can't really explain it. I just think it is.
Yeah. Has that natural rivalry with the Canucks?
Yeah, it just strikes me as a little bit of a hockey town. Not necessarily a hockey town, but I think they would embrace it.
Oh, yeah.
And there was something else I was going to say. Oh, I know. It felt like if you didn't have it in front of you, you were just trying to think of NHL teams, you would say, okay, New York Rangers, Boston Bruins, Detroit Red Wings. And let's say you got to 15 or 20 names, you would say, Seattle's got to have a team, right? What's Seattle's team? It just strikes me as a team that should have had a hockey team by now.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. If you didn't know anything about the NHL, you'd be like, what's Seattle's hockey team's name? Oh, they don't have one? That's odd.
And now they do, and it may be one of the best team names in sports.
Yeah, so I remember when they announced that last year, my parents don't know anything, and they would see it on the ticker. And I think my mom actually pronounced it. She was like, Seattle Kraken? What the heck is that? I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, boy.
And I said, it's Kraken, Mom. She was like, what the heck is that? I was like, it's a giant sea monster. Don't you watch Pirates of the Caribbean? And she was like, that's dumb. What I don't understand, though, why is it not the Krakens?
Yeah,
you don't need to. I think there's only one Kraken, though.
Yeah.
So, great name for sure. And I think that's going to be a huge hit in the NHL.
Great name, great logo, great color scheme.
So one more thing. I remembered it because I saw your hat. We must talk about Cleveland's new baseball team name.
Right.
I assume that hat is Wild Thing, correct?
Yeah,
the Major League logo. Where'd you get it from? I like it.
I got it across the street from Busch Stadium at a store called Baseballism.
Huh. That's cool.
They do like newfangled baseball shit. I got this hat, and a hat that is a baseball bat in the shape of the St. Louis Arch. I think it's pretty cool. So
where?
It's a store called Baseballism.
No. Where on the hat?
Oh, it's right here. The arch is right here in a baseball. It's a baseball bat. Oh, that's another hat. This is another.
Oh no! I thought you meant that hat.
And that one.
I was like, "Am I seeing something? You're not." Or am I not seeing something? So Cleveland decided to come out with revealed its new team name, the Cleveland Guardians.
I don't like it.
I don't either.
I think they had a natural fit with the Spiders.
I thought Spiders was cool.
I think Spiders was the obvious play there, and it just didn't happen. I mean,
some of those names I did not like with the Indians or with the change.
The Guardian thing apparently has to do with like a statue on a bridge somewhere that leads into town.
Were we supposed to know that about Cleveland?
Who outside of Cleveland knows that?
Yeah. So I didn't care for some of the names that were being circled. One was the Lakers. I was like, wow, that makes sense. It's going to be overshadowed by the LA Lakers. One was the Cuyahogas. I thought, okay, but there's not even really, I don't think, a Cuyahoga tribe. And then there was like the Blue Sox. I was like, we already got a Red Sox and a White Sox. We don't need a Blue Sox too. Then there was, I think, the Naps. I said that sounds like they're going to sleep.
I mean, I really thought that they had two good options with the Spiders and the Cleveland Rocks.
I think they had one, the Rockers or something, maybe. Yeah, that I would have liked too.
I think those were the two options that were better than
the Rocks.
That would have been the better option.
See, Rocks makes me think of boulders, stones.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to tell you then. I like
Rockers would have been better. I would have liked that. Spiders I thought would have been great too. And then they go with Guardians, and it's not that bad. It's not as bad. Like, if they had named the team the Naps, I would have been like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
That sounds like you're going to sleep.
The logo's okay.
See, everyone hated on the one logo that was like the G with the wings, kind of. I kind of liked it. Everyone else hated on it.
Bad. It's not far enough away from like this logo or the old Chief Wahoo logo where,
Then I saw some hate on Chief Wahoo logo. Everyone, was like, this one guy was like, if you hate that logo, you should hate this logo. And it was Chief Wahoo. I was like, whoa. Chief Wahoo's iconic.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, come on. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't like it, but what are we going to do? Sit here and complain on the internet, so.
I don't hate it. I'm not crazy about it.
No, yeah. I think apathetic is probably the best way for me to put it.
Yeah. I think it could have been better. And I thought Spiders would have been a great name. I really do.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't want to see Washington do something similar.
Yeah,
of course, they might not. They might just stick with the football team, which I really don't care for, but I like nicknames.
Something along the lines of the Guardians. I think that's a better. I think sticking with football team is probably
Guardians fits Washington. I think for whatever reason.
Yeah,
that's me. I think Washington's probably going to go. Well, I don't think it's been on a list of names that they were considering. I thought they would go Warriors. I really did.
Yeah, Warriors. I saw like the Washington Generals.
I would like that a lot.
Generals would be a good name, I think.
That has a negative connotation there with some people. I think it's bullshit, but
come on.
I agree. Like, General is a rank. It's like a chief.
Yeah.
It's a rank. And Brave, it's a rank.
Right.
Washington Generals is cool.
I'm sure they'll screw it up, but
if they go Red Wolves, it's not uncool. I think Wolves is an underused name.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Arkansas State Red Wolves here in this grand state. I think that's pretty cool.
How many Arkansas State fans do you know?
0.
Yeah, I was about to say couldn't be that many. I was talking to someone, and they asked me, "What do I experience here being in Texas?" And I said, honestly, I don't really see very much Longhorns here in Beaumont. I see a lot of LSU, honestly.
LSU, yeah, you probably
probably more A&M. If we're just talking Texas schools, I think more A&M than Longhorns.
Well, you're in Southeast Texas, right?
Yeah. A&M's not far away. Of all the schools, I'm closer to A&M.
Yeah.
So.
Makes sense.
There might be something else we could talk about. I guess we could touch up on Aaron Rodgers a little bit. I want to save most of that for
James. Enough about that. I mean,
I wanted to save it for James because I know he's going to have some thoughts on it. Yeah. Anyone who was shocked by this, I don't really think was paying attention.
Yeah, this was. I
told myself because I knew it was going to come to this point. Aaron really didn't have a choice, and I think you're an idiot if you thought otherwise. So I told myself I wasn't going to get excited. I know this is probably going to happen. So when it's announced, I'm not going to get excited about it. And I did a little bit. If you saw my social media, especially Twitter, I probably sounded very excited by the news. I really wasn't. I was more just I wanted to shit on other people.
Sure.
I gave Schefter a bad day.
Sure. He probably deserved it.
Well, Schefter, it just never made – I shouldn't say it never made sense. I think he was tipped off from someone in Rodgers' camp, lied about it later to protect his source, but he probably jumped the gun. I have heard that this whole thing was a 4, that the media escalated to an 8. On a scale of 1 to 10. How true is that? I don't know. It was from Trent Dilfer, who claims to be close with Rodgers. I don't know, but this was his only option. Either sit or really.
He kind of was backed into a corner in a couple of different ways. I mean,
so I want to talk about this because since we last spoke, I believe I have left our group message. How has that gone over?
Well, they changed the name.
Yeah, and I'm not coming back until they change it.
Better than Chains Group.
Yeah. It's
whatever.
funny. It's funny.
I mean, it's business as normal, just without you.
I think that's funny. Once that happened, I did it more as a joke.
Yeah.
I was like, screw this. And then it was a couple days, and I was like, I actually enjoy not being in this group. And William texts me at least once a week, come back and join the group. And I was like, no, I'm not coming back.
At this point, you can't. It's principle now.
Well, they pissed me off. They started a new one because I forget why now at this point. It's becoming the Hatfields and McCoys. I couldn't tell you why I left the group.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I was talking about, I feel like I can't say for that group. I'm sure they've talked about it today. I feel like the temperature in the room in regards to Rodgers has shifted. I think a lot of people were on his side when it started, or when it first broke. And then I think everyone has kind of been like, what are you mad about, man?
Yeah.
Honestly, what are you mad about?
That the linchpin in getting this short-term extension done was.
It's not even really an extension. They knocked a year off.
And maybe you can tell me whether this is true, if this is valid or not. Is he wants to bring Randall Cobb back to Green Bay, and if he will sign this deal or this reduction or extension, we'll call it.
I love Randall Cobb. We better not trade for him.
Yeah.
I'm not taking on that contract. He's got a $10 million contract right now, and he is not worth $10 million. I am all for bringing Randall Cobb back if the Texans change his contract, renegotiate it somehow, release him. I don't care. In that case, I'll welcome him back with open arms. I love Randall Cobb, but I just don't think he's that good of a player anymore. And if we give into it,
not good
deal. In my opinion. You're setting a dangerous precedent at that point. But I'm old school. But yeah, I felt this was coming. It's no surprise to me that this broke the day before training camp, or maybe it starts Wednesday. I don't remember, but there was really only two ways this could go, because Green Bay wasn't trading him. He was either going to have to sit out or play. Suck it up and play. And the details of the contract are still being finalized, but it sounds like they knocked a year off. He had 3 years left. Looks like they knocked a year off. 2 years, guaranteed to play this one. Kind of we'll see for 2022.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced he'll be back, and that's what I expect. I've expected that for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, this has been such a fluid situation. I feel like that.
It's been annoying.
Fluid but predictable.
It was predictable, and then they tried to make it a. I don't want to say bigger deal than it was, but it was just they kept just finding little things.
It blew up at the exact wrong time.
I was the only one who I felt like had a cool head.
Yeah.
Most Green Bay fans were freaking out. We deserve this, whatever. And I'm like, everyone just take a deep breath.
Let's all calm down.
Let's all calm down. Let's let this thing play out. And it went on way longer than what I thought it would be.
Yeah. The longer it went on, of course, the bigger deal it became. And, I
knew for sure it probably wasn't as big of a deal than what some people thought was the match, if you watch that.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't get a chance to watch that, but
between him, Brady, and then DeChambeau and Mickelson, the entire time they were joking about Rodgers, quarterback of the Packers, for now. It was stuff like that. I'm dead serious. And I just don't think, as someone who knows people who are going through a divorce right now, that's not what you do. You don't joke about that. It's a very sensitive topic. So.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. I mean, looks like it's at least coming to an end. You know.
I'm happy. Rumor is he's already flying to Green Bay. So we'll see. If he's there, I'll be shocked. I will honestly be shocked if he's there day one.
If I were him, I wouldn't want to leave that girl either.
I don't. She's very attractive, but she kind of gets under my nerves too. Like I've seen her retweet stuff. Like I think she retweeted something for Stephen A. Smith, talking about why Rodgers is upset. And I just think, oh God, here we go again.
Oh Jesus.
we're going through likes and social media. Same shit that happened today. So Mike Florio, I want to like him. I really do. He's from West Virginia. He lives in West Virginia. I want to like Mike Florio. But today, so this news broke that Rappaport broke that Rodgers was telling people close to him that he was going to play for the Packers this year, whatever. David Bakhtiari, if you don't know him, great friend of Aaron Rodgers. No. They're very close, and all they do really is mess with each other on social media. Aaron will go on the Pat McAfee show and give Bakhtiari a hard time. He'll say he's a bad teammate or, just joking around, and he'll say, I bought him a jet ski and all this stuff. He's never paid me dinner one time, So that's their relationship. And so Bakhtiari goes out there and responds, I think it was to Rappaport, and saying, well, he didn't tell me, so I guess we're not as close as we thought. I'll see if I can find it verbatim. But I got to find this. He can't have tweeted much today. No. I love Bakhtiari. Okay, so he quote tweeted Rappaport's original tweet and said, wow, guess we aren't close people at Aaron Rodgers. Then Mike Florio, who runs Pro Football Talk, didn't respond, came out with his own story. Headline, David Bakhtiari indicates Aaron Rodgers hasn't told him he's coming back to Packers.
Oh, for God's sakes.
And Bakhtiari responded to him, chill, I'm not disputing the report. Moreover, I'm disheartened that I'm not considered close people to Aaron. Please keep me in your thoughts and prayers during this time. I will persevere.
I mean, that's what Twitter is for.
I knew it. As soon as he tweeted that, he meant it as a joke. I am that confident in David Bakhtiari. I'm 50-50 about whether or not Aaron means it as a joke or he means it as a slight most of the time. I'm not that familiar with his sense of humor. But Bakhtiari, I was like, great tweet,
David Bakhtiari purposefully wears the number 69 because he thinks it's funny. I mean,
I can remember. So clearly he has since not done this. He's at 204.1 thousand followers. There was one point early in his career, I think it was after 2013, his rookie year, he was stuck on 69,000 followers and begged people to unfollow him so he could, or maybe he had peaked, reached 70,000 or something, and he begged people to unfollow him so he could go back to 69,000 followers. And then I remember him actually retweeting people. Who were saying, I'll take one for the team. I'm unfollowing David Bakhtiari.
What a gentleman.
So then he just retweeted something from Clay Matthews. Again, I have a soft spot for Clay Matthews. So it was Bakhtiari's tweet, chill, I'm not disputing the report, blah, blah, blah. And Clay Matthews responded with the GIF from Tropic Thunder with Ben Stiller saying, somebody said they were close to me. And David Bakhtiari retweeted it. But I'm serious. The headline is here from, I think it's Bleacher Report, going by the font. It says, Bakhtiari upset with Packers. If you can read that. I don't think you can.
Yeah. No,
I'll send it to you. But it says Bakhtiari upset with Packers. I was like, good God, people. Like, I think I even responded. I'm convinced y'all don't get the sense of humor in the locker room.
Yeah. Come on.
There was another one, too, that was pretty good.
Oh, boy.
Bakhtiari responded to Clay Matthews and says, I can confirm he texted me this exact quote. So apparently Aaron texted him that. I thought there was another one, too, that was really funny. Oh, it was from Rob Domofsky, who covers the Packers for ESPN. Says, he quote tweeted Bakhtiari's tweet about, I'm not disputing the report, and Domofsky says, can you at least confirm the report? And Bakhtiari said, I would love to, but I'm not privy to that sort of information, Bob. I'm not considered close people.
So he's living it now.
God, I love David Bakhtiari so much.
What a gentleman.
Oh, God. But, yeah, that's what I saw today, and I just remember thinking, good God, Florio. I want to like you, man.
Yikes.
So, yeah, anything else we can discuss? I think we've kind of touched up on all of it.
I think we've kind of hit everything.
Yeah, so I apologize.
Man, good.
Well, no, I meant just to the viewers, not necessarily to you. Somebody said they were close to me.
Damn it, man!
No, just the viewers. We've been pretty absent this summer. I've tried to get James on the podcast, and some days we try. Most days I forget to text him back. He forgets to text me back. So it's really a back and forth. There was one day, I forget if it was before the draft or not, or before I moved. His car got stolen. So I felt bad, yeah. I think this was back before the draft. I think it was before I moved. But yeah, I know that much. But I just remembered that. And then I've been going through some shit the last couple weeks. So I apologize for that. I'm not going to talk about it on the air. But Steven, if you want to ask me, because I know I just dropped a pretty big note, but I'll talk to you after the show if you're interested. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we're good, man. Not a whole lot else to discuss. I mean, the Olympics are,
Yeah, what else is Team USA apparently isn't doing very well.
Stink at basketball, apparently. But,
yeah, I don't know how the hell that happened.
Who knows?
I'll be honest, I didn't care for the roster when it was announced.
No, I really didn't either.
I saw that, and I was like, Dame Lillard, okay, Kevin Durant, Bam Adebayo, but then it was just a bunch of
Draymond.
Not necessarily has-beens, but guys I'm just not that crazy about.
Yeah, I know it.
And then I thought, well, maybe after the finals we get Devin Booker, maybe Chris Paul will come on board.
Yeah.
And that's not. As far as I know, neither of them have joined.
Devin Booker did.
Okay, I figured he would.
He's in, but Chris Paul didn't. Well, from what I have heard from people that know basketball better than me, is that they're trying to play an NBA game, and this is a FIBA league, so this is a European league.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically a European league, and it's just so much different of a game than NBA ball that it's just difficult. I mean, it was one thing when you could throw out a starting five of Chris Bosh, LeBron, Kobe, and Dwayne Wade or Carmelo. When you could throw out those five and just out-athlete everybody. Out-shoot, out-defend, out-athlete, just dunk on people's heads. That was fine. You can't really do that anymore. The game has caught up. These international teams have caught up. Luka Doncic dropped 47 today or something. Rudy Gobert was patrolling the lane for France against the Team USA. These teams have caught up. There's not as much of a talent gap anymore. So,
I'm not sure I like hearing that. I'm used to dominating in basketball. That's just kind of okay. We show up and get our gold medal.
Kick the shit out of everybody in women's basketball, but
we'll see. I still saw that Vegas has this as like a minus 200 favorite to win the gold, so it's still pretty good.
Yeah, I think getting games in will only help.
Well, they look good. I know they struggled. I know against Nigeria and Australia, but then I thought they beat somebody in an exhibition that was pretty good. Maybe not, but they looked a lot better.
Like Puerto Rico or something.
I don't think it was Puerto Rico. I think it was Argentina. That's who it was.
Argentina,
a country with some prestige. They've been decent in basketball before, but I was like, okay, well, maybe we're getting it together. We'll add maybe Devin Booker or somebody from the finals, and we go out and drop our first game to France. So, and as far as I know, I think it's split into two groups, and all four teams make the tournament. I think is how it works. I think it's two pools, right. 2 pools, so to speak, of 4 teams. Every team makes it. Just the pool play determines the seeding.
Yeah, I think that.
So
may be right.
Maybe we're getting the kinks worked out, and maybe by the time the tournament rolls around, we'll be pretty good. So I'm still expecting a gold medal despite the loss to France, but it's not looking good right now.
No, we're making up for it in swimming and
yeah,
gymnastics.
But we always do well. Is there a country out there that is even remotely as good as we are in swimming? Not really.
It's pretty good.
Australia, okay.
Russia's okay.
France, I know France has been okay, and maybe the UK, but
it's all the countries that you think of. It's all the big countries.
Yeah,
Canada.
We should dominate in swimming. How are we doing though? Minus Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps was my guy.
Yeah, there's still people that go
and I'm sure we have someone. It's kind of like a changing of the guard. We have someone coming up, maybe, but
Dressel that swam at Florida. That's pretty good. Who is like the dominant one right now? Apparently I saw him swim the relay last night, 4x1 relay, and he blew everybody out of the water on the first leg, and then nobody could catch him. So
how old is he?
Mid-20s, I think. I think he's like 24, 25.
Okay. I know we got, it's not a man, but Ledecky is really good.
You're really good.
You don't. I'm not to be sexist, but most people don't watch, the women, unfortunately. Yeah. But
she lost the 400. She came in second.
Really? I thought, didn't she blow everyone out of the water at Rio at 16?
Yeah, and the 800 and the 1500. Yeah, she's gonna beat everybody by a length of the pool.
Yeah, interesting. But so she's already lost. Well, finished second at least.
Finished second in the
Phelps
400.
even finished second a few times.
Yeah, I think he got a silver and a bronze here and there.
I remember for sure Beijing was obviously his big one.
8 for 8, yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I think in Athens in 2004, he lost a couple of races. I think he lost a couple of races in London in 2012.
Oh, I know for sure in London, but I remember being really excited to watch him in London. I think it was London. It might have been Rio, but I think it was London. He finished 4th in his first race there, or swim there, and I was like, the fuck is going on here?
What happened, Michael?
Yeah. Too busy smoking weed. That was after the whole smoking weed thing. Which was blown out of proportion, but all right, I'll let you go. It is almost 10:30. Time for bed, man.
Time for bed. Got to get used to going to sleep early and waking up early.
I've adjusted now, but yeah, it was a bit of a transition at first.
Transition. we'll make it. We'll be all right.
But all right, we'll let you go. I appreciate the conversation.
As always.
Good luck with the baby. I'm not sure I'll get you on before then.
Yeah, thank you. I'll let you know how it goes. And
I will say, hurricane season's around the corner down here, and they've already said, prepare to evacuate, possibly.
Hey,
and
come on up.
I was like, wonder where I'll go. And I said, well, Steven's just in Fayetteville. I was like, yeah, but he's got two babies on the way. I don't think he wants a third.
I might be the closest to you, though. That may be the problem.
Well, my brother lives in Huntsville. That's a little further, but I could probably just go over there. Rush Hall lives in Austin. I haven't talked to him, though, in years. I could reach out to him, though, if that's the case.
In Austin.
Yeah, as far as I know, he still lives in Austin. But yeah, I honestly will probably just go to Huntsville.
I got you. All right, brother, man. Always a good time. Yeah. Take it easy. We'll talk soon, all right?
Yep, I'll see you later.
Catch you, brother.
Later.